Okay, so now I'm painting. So for this class, I'm gonna have us using flat brushes, flat watercolor brushes. If you'd like, you can start with some tape, but it's really important that you stick the tape against some fabric. So your clothes are ideal, or a chair, or if you have something that's velvet, that's all really good, or even just run your hands over the tape, because we don't want it to stick. This is optional, but I'm just going to put a tape resist down here along the sides of these buildings. It's not strictly necessary. I might not do this in class if this ends up sticking too much to the paper, but might as well. Okay, and let's move in with the sky. So I'm going to start with some ultramarine blue, and I'm just going to wet down the sky area first, and also I'm going to wet down the sidewalk. I'm going to mix up a glaze of ultramarine and try and do a graduated wash where it's darker at the top and gets progressively lighter as we move down. And then I'm going to use that lighter shade on this side of the street here. Get a paper towel to dab off any paint that's kind of going where I don't want it to, but it's more or less fine. All right, let's get that. Over to this side of the street, I'm going to use a little bit of the yellow ochre. And I'm going to use horizontal marks that will create the effect of a reflection on the pavement. Okay, now to take my tape off. Okay, so that's ripped a little bit, so I won't be doing that in class. We can fill in any areas that we've missed. Now, if you're feeling cautious about going in, I'm going to suggest that we do the first layer just in yellow ochre and blue. Using a limited palette is a really good way to control your light values, because light values in the end are most important. The eye's going to be drawn to the light. So we want to think about using really loose marks, leaving a lot of clear areas on this side of the page. You can go right over the people because they're going to be much darker. And experiment with letting just the texture of the brush show through in some of these places. That can create really nice effects for walls and brickwork and things like that. Now I'm going to work some of those blues back in as shadow values. So the light's going to be hitting the top of quite a few of these houses. We're definitely not going to have any light on this side, so I can even just go over this with some dry brushing of this blue. There will be a shadow on this side. See if you can angle your brush to do a very precise shadow. And these houses in the distance are kind of in the shadow, so I'm just gonna pull this over. So I've got my light values a little bit more controlled here. I can now move into getting some of these windows down. Some of these areas of shade, areas that are recessed. And I'm just angling my brush to follow the little marks that I can still see that I've made regarding the perspective. Don't make your windows too big. That's one of the things we tend to do, make windows really big, and if you make them kind of smaller, so they're just fading into the distance, it kind of seems like, creates a very nice light effect where the buildings seem very large. You can also come in with any sort of window edges. Just going to bring this up. Shadow at the base of the building. And now finally I'm going to move in with the red and ultramarine values. So as things get closer to us, they tend to get more highly pigmented. So I'm going to use the watercolor really kind of roughly here with that burnt sienna. I can even move my brush in the direction of some of the brickwork, just following out from the horizon line, vanishing point. We're working with glazes here, so just one color at a time. Some of these reds are going to be reflected in the pavement, so I'm going to bring these down. Again, I'm really ignoring the people here. And it's also going to bounce back on this building. So I know that things that are red tend to come closer, feel closer, so I'm just bringing that over this. But again, you'll see in the brush strokes, I'm making sure that I'm leaving little spaces in between the brush strokes. So I'm not following color so much. I'm not just copying the color in the reference I'm using. I'm instead thinking about how light is going to work together and perception is going to work to bring this forward. And then finally I'll come in with this burnt umber. I'm going to mix that with a little bit of the ultramarine blue to tone it down. And bring some more horizontals here. These lines are going to get thinner as you move off into the distance. So colors are going to get darker as they come towards you. These marks are going to get softer as you move into the distance. There's kind of like a little bit of fencing here that I'm going to put in. I'm also going to put the shadow in for where I'm going to do my line of poles coming forward, and also the shadows for the people. Carefully going to get these tops of buildings over here. I realized I forgot the sun, so we'll do that in class. More dry brushing. We'll see sharper details as we get nearer towards us. So this is creating a nice detailed effect on this building closest to us. And I'm just going to use some blue to tone down top of this building here. Maybe some burnt umber. Okay, and now I am going to dry this, and then, actually no, I'm going to do a couple of people with a round brush in the background, and then I'm going to dry this. So just gonna, so I think, yeah, that's dry enough, and it's okay for people to be a bit fuzzy. So I'm gonna use that burnt umber and blue mixture here, and a very fine brush to map out some of these figures way off in the background. And the ones closer to us are going to get progressively darker. And we can also put down a couple of those poles here. Just the starts. Okay, so now it's time to dry and come in with the line layer. So I'll post that in a second. Okay, so now we'll move on to the second part where we are going to look at line work and also use the Linky watercolors to darken up any area that we need to. So let me just get the reference up. There we go. And one of the most fun things to do here is going to be the tiles. So remember where your vanishing point is. And you'll want to, with a pencil, or you can even do this with a pen, come in and mark off some of these sections of tiles. You can even mark down the page like here if you want to make sure that they're evenly spaced, but they're not super evenly spaced. So let me just get this. I'm not bringing them all the way to the back, or at least I'm trying not to. I'm kind of lifting up on the pencil as I move further back, because obviously the cracks between them will get smaller and smaller as they recede from view. And these are a little bit at an angle, so I can just sort of make a couple angle marks here. Not too many, because as they move further back, they're going to get less and less visible. Moving these into the street. Just a few tiles in the street. And then we'll either use a pen or a colored pencil in class. I haven't decided yet, but we just come in with a finer detail. So this is just going to take a moment. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it here because that's all the time I have left for it, but you can continue this on. You can add, Linky watercolors to it to add more depth. But there is our first line and wash urban landscape. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next class.